Let's start today's session. A very warm welcome. I am extending my warm welcome to, first of all, to my dear learners, and then I am also willing to show my gratitude to RC team Dehradun, because this is a very wonderful opportunity to be part of this learning process as a course coordinator, as a teacher, as a development expert, professional, and connecting with all of you is a very great opportunity, not even for you learners, but it is also for myself as well. Today we are going to start. Um, yes. Please, Nadrat, please help us to keep joining these learners again and again because there are so many technical issues. So in today's session, we are going to discuss overall a general understanding of our whole paper, that is research methods in rural development, and we are covering two units of block 1. I have mentioned very clearly units, their names, and the block, because whenever you are supposed to do some sort of assignment, which is also part of your course, so we have to go through those part of syllabus as a process. These units are, these presentations are subdivided very organically into different parts of syllabus, like block, this block, and these units are being covered. So first of all, I am going to share this whole PowerPoint presentation with the RC Dehradun team so that you can get access to it. Apart from that, I am showing my email address on the first slide. This is the slide that is carrying my PowerPoint presentation. So if there is any problem that you are facing for regarding access to this PowerPoint presentation, you can directly mail to me, or you can form a one joint group of email so that I can share all these PowerPoint presentations immediately after or during or before my lecture to all of you. Second thing which I just want to share with you is our priority from IGNU team is to promote interactive session. So interactive session is our priority, and the learning cannot be possible without discussion in general, and in case of rural development paper in particular, because there is a, of course there are similarities between my social setting and your social setting, because we both belong to Asian continent, but there are also so many differences between Afghanistan and other countries. So there is a requirement of contextual understanding. This is the basic foundation. So we have to understand all those basic concepts as well as in terms of the contextual understanding. For example, I am talking about some research studies being conducted in rural areas of Indian society, while you can do the same you can come with your own experiences, case studies, observations, reflections from your social setting, from your own society. So there has to be a kind of give and take. Third and most important significant thing is, if any of you is not able to understand anywhere during this PowerPoint presentation any point, because the whole PowerPoint presentation is strictly in terms of one language, that is English, but we can't compromise our understanding and our interactive sessions. So if there is anything that is causing a kind of impediment or barrier to your understanding, kindly let me know. Please don't wait. I am requesting to all of you, please don't wait for the moment Rather, I would love to invite all of you to interrupt me in the very moment, so that we can evolve through our learning by this hassle free process. So my whole purpose is, in case you are not very comfortable with English, please feel free to unmute yourself, to keep your mic on, and let me know. I will be telling the same point in English and in Hindi, but we are not supposed to compromise neither our interactive session nor our understanding. So, from today, we are starting this research methods in rural development, that is MRD204. I am your teacher. My name is Dr. Pragya. Myself, I am actually a sociology student. I have done my PG, post graduation, and my doctoral work in sociology. And apart from this, I have also worked with development sector in leading agencies, national and international agencies. So I am going to incorporate some of those experiences so that you can understand these research methods, because there are two types of understanding whenever we are going to talk about rural development. One is the field view, and the other is the book view. When we are talking about the book view, it is not sufficient. Not sufficient in the sense that this whole analysis is actually time bound, number one, and place bound. Time bound and place bound means it is going to be changed in a society over a period of time. And second number, again, the reality is going to be changed at the same time in different societies. इसको हिंदी में कहें अगर, तो हम ये कह सकते हैं कि अगर हम एक सोसाइटी, एक समाज को देखें, तो उसमें जो भी हम अभी सामाजिक वास्तविकता यानी कि सोशल रियलिटी की स्टडी कर रहे हैं, वो स्टडी हमको दो तरह से देखने को मिल सकती है. एक सोसाइटी में अलग अलग समय में हमें अलग अलग रियलिटी देखने को मिल सकती है. एट द सेम टाइम अलग अलग सोसाइटीज में एक ही समय में हमको अलग अलग रियलिटीज देखने को मिल सकती है. तो इससे हमको पता चलता है कि जो हम रिसर्च मेथड्स करने जा रहे हैं, what we are going to cover in research methods in rural development is neither going to be simple nor going to be very lucid. There is a continuous dynamic interplay between subjectivity and objectivity, between fact and value. और न तो हम फैक्ट को ऊपर रख सकते हैं, न हम वैल्यू को ऊपर रख सकते हैं. सो अगेन मैं पूरा इंटरेक्शन स्टार्ट करने से पहले एक बार आप सबसे फिर से सवाल कर रही हूँ, क्या हमारे साथ कोई ऐसा है जिसको इंग्लिश में कम्युनिकेट करने में या समझने में दिक्कत आती है? प्लीज फील फ्री. मैं वेट कर रही हूँ आपका, अगर आप में से कोई भी ऐसा है. ओके, सबसे पहले तो आप अपना माइक ओपन करें, प्लीज अनम्यूट करें अपने आप को और अपनी बात बताएं.
हेलो मैम, गुड इवनिंग.
जी बताएं
मैम, मेरी इंग्लिश इतनी ज़्यादा स्ट्रांग नहीं है. अगर हिंदी में ये लेसन हो जाए तो मैं अंडरस्टैंड करूँगा.
ओके, थैंक यू. कैन यू प्लीज इंट्रोड्यूस योरसेल्फ?
जी, मेरा नाम सैयद रुहुल्लाह शमीम है और मैं इस क्लास में स्टूडेंट.
थैंक यू, थैंक यू. एंड किसी और ने भी हाथ उठाया है? Saddam has also raised hand. Kindly introduce yourself so that we can understand the whole issue. जी
हेलो मैम.
जी गुड इवनिंग, बताएं.
मैम मेरा नाम सद्दाम अमीनी है और यहाँ पे सब लोग अफगानिस्तान से.
जी
वो तो हिंदी नहीं जानता है सब लोग. अगर इंग्लिश बात करेंगे तो अच्छा है.
जी जी. तो क्या हम ऐसा कर सकते हैं कि हम दोनों लैंग्वेज को यूज करें, हिंदी और इंग्लिश? तो ओके ओके, अगर आपको हिंदी नहीं आता कोई बात नहीं. आर यू कंफर्टेबल विद इंग्लिश?
अगर दोनों लैंग्वेज में
हम बाइलिंगुअल करेंगे, क्योंकि इंग्लिश का ऑप्शन हमारे पास हिंदी ही बचता है ना. तो हम अपने उन लर्नर्स के बारे में सोचते हैं जिनको इंग्लिश में बहुत ज्यादा दिक्कत हो सकती है। और किसी को कुछ कहना हो तो प्लीज आप बोल सकते हैं, ऐड कर सकते हैं। दिस सेशन इज गोइंग टू बी बाइलिंगुअल। यस, Navidullah, do you want to say something?
Can just
Please.
thank you very much, ma'am. You can just call me Navid.
Okay, thank you.
Actually, that is a very good idea.
जी,
Let's have a rule for these sessions.
जी,
In case if something is not understandable for our friends here in the groups,
yes,
then they can just ask to just you could give him more brief on Indian language.
okay,
Otherwise, as I'm receiving message from our friends, they are
okay,
more they just prefer to be the session in English language. So
fine,
in
fine.
case if something is not understandings, my friends can just ask to you for more briefing in Indian
Still,
language.
still, Navid, I am so sorry, but क्योंकि हमारा जो इंटरेक्शन है वो राहुल से स्टार्ट हुआ एंड उन्होंने साफ साफ बोला कि उनको इंग्लिश में प्रॉब्लम है, राइट?
Actually, not only for one and two person. The rest
आई
they
अंडरस्टैंड,
know
बट
English. Yeah.
बट यू नो हमारे लिए एक एक स्टूडेंट बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है ना?
G ma'am.
तो अगर
Actually, I am not
कोई,
also.
यस, तो
Actually,
अगर किसी ने
also
ये कहा है, अगर किसी ने ये
G
कहा है कि उसे इंग्लिश में थोड़ा प्रॉब्लम होता है ना, तो
G.
कर्टसी ये कहती है और ऑनेस्टी ये कहती है कि जब हमने आपके प्रपोजल्स इनवाइट किए तो लेट अस ट्राई टू मेक इट इंक्लूसिव, राइट? तो
Perfect.
हम
Yeah, yeah.
दोनों
I
में
do
करने
agree.
की कोशिश करेंगे। आई एम
G.
गोइंग टू बी कंप्लीटली आई एम गोइंग टू बी कंप्लीटली डेमोक्रेटिक इन द सेंस, आप में से किसी को भी कहीं भी कुछ भी समझ में नहीं आ रहा है, आपको तुरंत इंटरप्ट करना है। आप अपना माइक अनम्यूट करें, अपना नाम बताएं और जो भी ऑब्जेक्शन या डाउट या रिफ्लेक्शन, इवन समटाइम्स क्वेश्चंस नहीं है, हम कुछ रिफ्लेक्शन ला रहे हैं, बिकॉज आप सभी काम कर रहे होंगे, पढ़ाई कर चुके हैं, हम सब हायर एजुकेशन में हैं, तो देयर कैन बी रिफ्लेक्शंस, है ना? तो वो आपका हिंदी में आपको शेयर करना हो, इंग्लिश में शेयर करना हो, एनी टाइम यू प्लीज फील फ्री। यहाँ पर बस मैं एक चीज और डिस्कस करना चाहूंगी। समटाइम्स जब मैं फ्लो में आ जाती हूँ, नेटवर्क अगर इंटरप्ट होता है तो मुझे पता नहीं चलता। ओके, तो अगर आप मेरी स्लाइड नहीं देख पाए या मेरी आवाज आप तक नहीं पहुंच पा रही है तो अगेन प्लीज मुझे तुरंत बताएं, ठीक है? सो
Ma'am,
लेट्स
I
स्टार्ट।
ठीक है
have one
सर.
thing to share.
यस प्लीज।
Yeah, these learners have done a sort of survey in the WhatsApp group. How many actually know Hindi and English and other language?
ओके,
So finally, they decided that it has to be English.
ओके,
But yes, as Navid says that if any person of finding it problematic to understand English, then
हम्म,
he can ask. Otherwise, it has to be in English because
आई एम दैट इज द ओनली इशू आई एम टेलिंग यू, बिकॉज
yes,
जो हमने इंटरेक्शन स्टार्ट किया है उसमें पहला पॉइंट राहुल्ला ने यही बोला है कि उनको प्रॉब्लम है इंग्लिश में, राइट?
yes,
और सेकंड थिंग सर, मुझे नहीं लगता कि अभी स्टूडेंट्स का ये हम ये पावर स्टूडेंट को दे सकते हैं कि वो हिंदी टू इंग्लिश करने में वो हेल्प आउट कर पाएगा, बिकॉज ये अपने आप में एक तरीके का एक बाधा, एक बैरियर हो जाएगा कम्युनिकेशन के लिए, राइट? तो
yes,
हम कोशिश करेंगे पूरा का पूरा इंग्लिश में करने की, बट कहीं कहीं जहां मुझे लगता है कि डिफिकल्टी है समझने में, जैसे
yes,
कोई
yes,
केस स्टडी है, जैसे मेरी अपनी जो मैं केस स्टडी डिस्कस करने वाली हूँ, रिसर्च मेथड्स कैसे कैसे हमको कॉम्प्लिकेटेड करते हैं सिचुएशन को, एंड यू आर नॉट एबल टू फाइंड आउट कि कौन सा रिसर्च मेथड कब यूज करना चाहिए, तो उस डिस्कशन को हम सोचेंगे कि हम बाइलिंगुअल करें, इंग्लिश में भी करेंगे, सेम चीज को हिंदी में भी करेंगे। इट विल बी इक्वली इन प्रोपोर्शन, कोई लॉस नहीं होगा हिंदी वालों का या इंग्लिश वालों का।
yes, yes.
जी जी, बाकी आप
Yes,
इस
ma'am.
पर, यस
Finally, I
प्लीज।
just want to add one more thing is that
Okay.
even at the end of the session,
Yes,
we can also discuss with our friends if
yes,
they want to know more. Even we can just switch to Persian
yes,
to
yes,
brief them and discuss the issues if they have still some problems.
yes,
Of course.
बिल्कुल,
So same to me. Actually, I just learned Hindi by the help of the Indian movies. Actually. But
great.
I'm also good because this is also a very good opportunity to we should also learn the Indian language, which
Yes,
I really
yes.
love to learn.
And I am
Yeah.
also, I am also, I'll be seeking your help. अगर आपका कोई फ्रेंड पश्तो में या पर्सियन में कुछ भी अगर वो बोले और मैं अगर नहीं समझ पा रही हूँ, तो प्लीज हेल्प मी, ओके? And
Okay,
let's
ma'am.
let's let's have a very thriving, very vibrant, interactive session, because learning is our prime objective rather than medium. Okay, languages are only medium, and we share a very great heritage, a very good culture, a very multi-ethnic society, its culture. Okay, so let's try to be inclusive, and let's try to make this interaction very vibrant and communicative. So ठीक है?
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. So let's start my PowerPoint presentation. So today we are going to discuss two units of block one, that is Introduction to Research, Purpose, Nature and Scope. This is unit one.
Sorry,
In
ma'am. Can
yes,
I add something regarding the language because
yes,
the
please
yeah.
feel free. बताएं.
So as most of the students don't know Hindi,
I
uh,
understand.
this is the one reason.
Yeah.
If we use both language, that would be boring for the student. And
Okay.
also, officially, the scholarship language is English.
Okay.
Officially, we should, I think, follow the rules
Fine.
in the
Fine.
conditions of the
Okay.
scholarship. So that would be better the English. If someone
Okay.
don't know, at the end of the session, he can ask
Okay.
in Hindi. Yeah.
Okay, okay, as you say, as you say. Again, still. Rohula, I am asking you to interrupt me at the moment you are not able to understand. Please feel free, because over everything, even professionalism, even everything, I prefer this communication and this interactive session. Okay, so this presentation is going to be in English, no doubt, but wherever you find difficulty, wherever you are feeling that there is something which is not very clear to you, please interrupt, either write a message or unmute yourself, and let's discuss. Okay, it is completely welcome, completely. From my side, I am going to make it a very vibrant kind of interactive session, because that is the only pedagogy in higher education, particularly in rural development, because contextual understanding varies with background. Okay, so with all these things, let's start our first unit. Let's try to understand what do we mean to say research. Actually, research is the two most important basic resources of research is number one, the systematic investigation, and the second is critical investigation. This systematic investigation and critical investigation of a phenomenon towards increasing the stream of knowledge, number one, and then it can also be associated with certain applied use of that knowledge. So, whenever either the purpose is to gain, to derive, to develop, to formulate a knowledge base regarding a social phenomenon, or the purpose is to solve some active problem by doing some active research. Again, the medium has to be to conduct a good research. So, overall, this systematic and critical investigation begins with the scientific research, because whenever we are going to define research, we have to understand it is not only research, it is scientific research. And what do we mean to say scientific research? It means scientific research involves a process which is number one, a systematic process, and number two, in this systematic process, we try to follow steps of critical examination and investigation by formulating specific objectives. Without any objective, we can't go to gain anything important by because of that particular research. So there are two things that I have discussed so far. First part is first dimension of research, scientific research is systematic procedure, and the second is critical investigation. But both of these cannot be attained without increasing the quantum of objective, because that is going to be the focus process of social research. And in that social research, again, we cannot compromise the process of scientific research. That is why process of acquiring reliable, what terms we are using in this whole process are reliability, validity. These two are very important terms in this whole understanding of social research and scientific investigation. So, in this whole process, the whole process of following steps to acquire reliable, valid, meaningful information about a phenomenon in general and rural development in particular. So, it is not only a quest for adding on knowledge, rather, it is objectively conducted quest for adding knowledge. What is this objectivity? This is going to be a very complicated issue in our case. Why? Because in case of rural development, we can't talk about uh, specific research which is lab based, because we are not going to do that in the experimental procedure. Experimental procedure means controlled observation. You can't control your observation, not even a single factor, because every factor in rural development is going to be coincided with multiple factors. For instance, let's talk about rural poverty. You can't differentiate rural poverty by other factors such as political factors, cultural factors, factors related to infrastructure, factors related to civil war, or some sort of conflict-ridden environment in that particular society. So everything is, you can say, it's a kind of inextricably interwoven dynamics of multiple factors. That is why in scientific research, the whole process of this objective quest is going to be achieved completely free from bias and errors. And now, for your kind information, let me assure you, despite of our best efforts, we can't erase all bias and errors. Then what are we doing in scientific research? We try to follow those systematic procedures to minimize those errors, to cross check those errors, because in the whole research process, we can't assume that this is going to be completely free from bias and errors. So every time we are going to use different types of research tools, different types of research strategies, research designs, so that we can create new knowledge. First of all, number one, we can create new knowledge, new stock of knowledge. And if it takes into account the bias, the errors, the limitations, that means it is going to be difficult for us to arrive or to conclude with objectivity. So, overall, we can summarize in the last statement of this slide that scientific research aims at analyzing, describing, explaining, and understanding of various problems. Now, let's try to understand another thing. Whenever we are using term problem in research methods, it has nothing to do with problem as such. Like electricity is not available, so this is a problem. Of course, this is a problem, but this is not a problem in research method. Then what is the problem? What do we call problem in research methods in general and research methods in rural development? Actually, uh, this problem means we are going to understand where is the gap of knowledge. Let me tell you very frankly, gap of knowledge is the real problem in this whole process of scientific investigation and research. Either we are conducting a research in lab based, or we are conducting this research in case of rural development. So overall idea to define is to get the answer of those questions which are either not answered at all, number one, number two, they are partially answered, number three, they are answered, but actually the time and space has been changed, so those answers are not actually working in present situation. So, this is a kind of unending process. That is why there is a need to understand what are basic issues whenever we are trying to apply research in rural development. So, actually, professionals in rural development require these researchers so that they can understand problems of rural development, what are key issues, where are we lagging, why those development programs are not working, and in that process we are also we are trying to solve those problems by developing development alternatives or alternative programs to incorporate basically those loopholes so that we can solve that particular problem and we can enhance the performance of a particular development program or a particular institution. So the most important thing in research is basically to understand the effectiveness of methods and these techniques one by one. Otherwise, because not a single method can be guaranteed to a scientific research single-handedly. There are multiple methods, there are multiple techniques, and due to different kind of factors we can require different kinds of research design, different kind of researches. In coming slides we are also going to discuss various types of researches as well in coming slides, of course, but right now we are just trying to understand what are key issues whenever we are going to conduct a research. So there is a need to understand why do we need this information as accurate as possible, as reliable as possible, and as well as possible. So why do we require it? Because it is not only for the purpose of knowledge creation of knowledge, but it is also affecting stakeholders. A stakeholder means all those professionals who are involved with that particular agency that is actually running a particular development program for a rural area. So those stakeholders are also getting benefits by this research, and as such the supply chain of these programs, these services, and these agencies are also going to reap these benefits of this research. So the whole purpose of this research in rural development is overarching in the sense that all these researches are basically for searching and developing alternative intervention techniques so that we can modify our programs for the betterment of human development and other aspects of socio-economic development, in particular case of rural areas. Now let's go to the other slide, and this is basically about the conceptual foundation of scientific research. As I told you, the whole time we are going to talk about what is fact and what is theory, because facts are only bits and pieces, while theory guides a full narration. And by locating those facts in the light of a particular theory or a particular research, or a theoretic or a sorry or a in the through a window of a particular perspective, we are better to understand the equations of those multiple factors, because facts are not complete in their own sense. For example, if I am telling you that India has this particular rate of literacy, this is half fact. When we are going to divide this literacy rate as male literacy rate and female literacy rate, then we are again going to understand then there is a gender gap. That means male literacy is higher in India as compared to the female literacy. That means there has to be a theory, because without looking at this, at those different facts, a theory is not going to mislead us. So there is a continuous, a very unending, a very dynamic relationship between fact and theory. So the whole scientific research starts no doubt with facts, but actually those facts are always guided with theorizing. That is why whenever you are conducting any dissertation as part of your course, you are supposed to go through the whole review of literature. You are supposed to review of that literature on a particular topic, so that you can understand what theories have been added, what are those particular gaps of knowledge that has been addressed, and also because knowledge is incomplete, so some theories that are actually very popular during 90s are now going to be criticized. So this is a continuous process, and in the light of that theory you can develop that perspective, and only by help of that theory and perspective you can understand the relationship between those facts. Without that, those are scattered blocks by which you are not able to understand what are you going to do with those facts. So there is a very significant relationship, because whenever we are trying to identify certain factors, we can understand this by help of the data we have obtained. That is why obtained data can give you only facts. For example, this is the literacy rate, these are social economic indicators, but only by help of a particular perspective or theory you will be able to understand how these socio-economic factors are also related to a particular social setting, or maybe some ethnic background, or maybe some other process. There are multiple factors. That is why primary purpose of scientific method is to search a mechanism of organizing the fact. Because if you can recall, let me get back to the previous slide. The whole purpose of scientific research is basically to analyze, describe, explain, and understanding of those various facts. So primary purpose of this scientific method is to organize those facts. That is why a relationship has to be there between the fact and theory. That means isolated facts are never going to be helpful. At the end of a particular dissertation or a project or some bigger study, we are going to declare in our conclusion and findings that such findings are similar to the other studies, but there must be few findings that are actually not very similar to the previously conducted studies. Why? Because that is the query, that is the generation of a knowledge where we are trying to develop a whole new dimension to the perspective. So isolated facts have to be organized in that particular perspective by help of a theory. So there has to be a very important and significant relationship between fact and theory. So it has to be started with the theory rather than through the fact. That is why uh, we can understand basically the whole facts, or you can say those variables, those are intermediate, or those are determining, or those are uh, determinant variables. So theory is basically a set of interrelated constructs or concepts in which you can define different terms different propositions, and by help of those variables you try to understand the overall relation, systematic relation, so that you can organize those facts. That is why theory is a very important and uh, significant abode of guidance in scientific research in general and research in rural development. Now let's talk about hypothesis and theory, because I have spoken about the relationship between fact and theory. So from where are we going to start our study? There has to be some rough idea. That is basically a rough idea. For example, let me share one very original query from all of you. I teach in a remote area. Kindly listen me carefully, because this is going to be the first question to all of you. So, I am teaching in a college which is located in a rural area, and out of those 30 students who are present in my class, almost 90% students are girls and only 10% of boys. Now, this is the observation. Can I ask you, what is the reason? What are the possibilities? Why this number is so big? And can we understand, can we conclude, can we examine what is this observation? Why such big number of girls are sitting in that class? Can you please tell me, any one of you? It can be right, it can be wrong, it can be okay, it is okay. But interaction is important. Yes, please unmute yourself one by one. First of all, Rohulla, please unmute yourself and tell me
मैम,
your observation. जी बताएं.
अगर आप ये सवाल हिंदी में मुझसे पूछे तो मैं जवाब दे सकता हूँ.
फाइन. मैं जिस जगह पर जिस कॉलेज में पढ़ाती हूँ, उस कॉलेज में एक जनरल टेंडेंसी है. ये एक जनरल पैटर्न है वहाँ का. इसको हम सोशोलॉजी में और रिसर्च मेथड्स में हम बोलते हैं ट्रेंड एनालिसिस. तो उस ट्रेंड एनालिसिस में एक ट्रेंड आ रहा है कि क्लास में, वो पीजी क्लास हो, पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट की क्लास हो या अंडर ग्रेजुएशन की, उसमें 90% टाइम्स गर्ल्स स्टूडेंट्स प्रेजेंट होते हैं और हार्डली 10% बॉयज देखने को मिलते हैं. दिस इज एन ऑब्जर्वेशन, बिकॉज वी आर गोइंग टू टॉक अबाउट हाइपोथेसिस एंड थ्योरी. तो ये पूछना है मेरा कि क्या वजह है कि 90% गर्ल्स दिखती हैं कोएड कॉलेज में, लेकिन लड़के बहुत कम दिखते हैं, ओनली 10%. व्हाई? व्हाट कैन बी द रीजन?
मैम, ये तो एक हाइपोथेसिस है. मतलब ये तो सिर्फ एक नजरिया है ना. वो तो
जी.
रिसर्च करने के बाद ये पता चलेगा कि अगर
यस,
जो फैक्ट हमें
यस,
मिलेगा उसके बाद.
यस. लेकिन हम रिसर्च यहीं से स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं ना, तो क्या
जी.
क्या हो सकता है?
ये भी हो सकता है क्योंकि बॉयज जो वो काम में बिजी रहते हैं, लड़कियां जो घर में रहते हैं तो उन्हें फाइनेंशियल सपोर्ट मिलते हैं भाई से या उनके बाबूजी से. तो
वेरी गुड,
लड़के को नहीं मिलते, इसीलिए ज्यादा लड़कियां क्लास में ज्यादा है और बॉयज कम.
वेरी गुड, वेरी गुड. थैंक्स अ लॉट. नाउ म्यूट योरसेल्फ. कोई और हमें बताना चाहेगा?
May I
नूरुल्लाह,
interrupt,
मे
ma'am?
बी. जी, प्लीज फील फ्री. यस, मोहम्मद वली, बोलिए.
Yeah, maybe the boys don't like the particular course that you are teaching. That can be
Okay, thank
happen.
you. This is another reason. Yes. Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
May I add something, Isma?
Yes, please feel free.
Actually, this is a very good question. So this is, as you mentioned, this is the beginning of research.
Actually,
So
this is my favorite question.
yeah, so there is several how to say, if I think, theories about this. As mentioned by our friends, there are other other theories as well, that maybe the boys had the opportunity to go out and study abroad, even in the cities, in somewhere else. Even they are busy working, as they said, as a farmer or something else. Even they are just forced to be the breadwinner of their family. That is why they are going to work for that.
Yeah.
And as well as maybe there is a also the possibility that there is more opportunity for girls to be educated, even from the schools to the university. So these are actually part of this, but as you mentioned, still we need to do research in
Yeah.
the specific area to make
Yeah.
sure that actually what is the real reason behind this issue, that almost 90% of the students are female students, as
90%, yeah.
mentioned.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
नाउ हमारे पास तीन अभी तक रीजंस या हाइपोथेसिस या रफ आइडियाज आए हैं, टेंटेटिव आइडियाज आए हैं. दोज कैन बी राइट, दोज कैन बी रॉन्ग, डजेंट मैटर, because a good research is always proving yourself wrong. This is the basic definition of a good research, where you are actually going to talk about your own objective by doing a critical examination, critical investigation. That is why never afraid of a hypothesis. Now, anybody, any one of you can add something, only then I am inviting anybody else. Otherwise, we are not going to repeat these points because we have got three ideas. So if anybody else, if there is any new idea, because we have gained three ideas. Okay, thank you.
May
So
I add, may I
yes,
add more,
Mohammad Wali ji,
two more
बताएं.
reasons? Ma'am, the location of the school can also be a cause, or maybe the culture and social.
Okay,
This,
okay.
this can also be
Rolla, do
the
you want
cause.
to add something?
नहीं मैम, नहीं मैम.
ओके, ठीक है, ठीक है, आपका एक्चुअली हैंड उठा हुआ है. ओके, चलिए, ठीक है, थैंक यू.
Excuse me, ma'am. I want to add some points about
यस,
that
प्लीज
issue.
अफजल, प्लीज बताएं.
Mm. At the first, we can research about the population that live in the rural side. Maybe the girls' population uh, be a lot than boys, and the very important issue is economy situations of families.
या.
Maybe the economy of some families very poor, and this is very important. And the other point I want to add, work opportunity. Some of boys maybe work with some his family fathers or brothers,
Okay.
and uh, because of that points they can't come to school or college.
Thank you, thank you, thanks a lot. So let's go back to our presentation again. So we got three general ideas. What are these general ideas? These general ideas can be developed as hypotheses in a research. And in a good research, it is more important to reject your own hypothesis rather than support your hypothesis. So this is first important lesson of today's lecture. Research is never about only investigation. It is always about critical investigation. Just try to question your hypothesis, and that is the basic idea to conduct a research, because unless and until you are going to reject your own hypothesis, you are not going to add anything new after your research. So let's talk about hypothesis. This is my idea of explaining you in a better way, in a practical way, what a hypothesis is. Basically, a hypothesis explains tentatively. It is tentatively a small number of facts and the relationship between those indicators. So we are trying to understand the number of, or the proportion of present or present girl students as compared to absent male students or boys student. This is basically all those four ideas are tentative. Okay. So hypothesis is basically tentative, and that is why it is called falsifiable. Falsifiable का मतलब हुआ कि उसको हम गलत भी साबित कर सकते हैं और सही भी हो सकती है। सही होगी या गलत होगी ये हम पहले से नहीं बता सकते। We can't say it is going to be right. We can't say it is going to be absolutely wrong because it is tentative. You are not sure. So, falsifiability is the first feature of a hypothesis. That means if theory is a tool of research, that means hypothesis is a tentative tool. By that, you can guide the whole research. So, overall, a hypothesis can be deduced from a theory, from a broader phenomenon, from a generalization. For example, when one of your learner participant was telling me one reason that these boys must be absent because of some financial burden on their families, that makes a point by one theory that in a in a developing society, the breadwinner is basically male rather than female. The whole burden of earning a bread for family is going to be major question on males of a rural area rather than female of a rural area. So this is going to be again a generalization out of some perspective, some theory, and that can similarly be traced in all the rest of the ideas. So theory is basically a proved hypothesis. Okay, when a hypothesis is proved by explaining various variables on the basis of a well conducted research, then it can add to some theory. That means theory is basically a law or a general principle, but hypothesis is a tentative, falsifiable idea that can be right and that can be wrong. So it is going to guide the whole research. Now, let's again try to understand what is theory. So there are three key points. Theory summarizes and puts in order the existing knowledge in a particular area. For example, whenever we are talking about literacy and we are dividing it into two major parts, that is female literacy and male literacy, that means there has to be a gender structure of power. That means we are getting those ideas from a particular perspective, that is gender sensitive approach, because it is going to give you a cross section clarity of a particular social setting. So first of all, second thing, theory provides a final explanation for observed events and relationships. What are we discussing by using that particular question, by raising that particular question of where are the missing boys and why are these boys missing from the college, from the class? This is a kind of observation of an event or a particular relationship between various variables. So theory provides a final explanation, but it is final, while hypothesis is a tentative explanation which is falsifiable. That means again it can be right and it can be wrong. Then third most important point is theory permits the prediction of the occurrence of phenomena. It is very important. Why every time we try to locate the findings and conclusions of a particular study in general and in rural development, so that we can understand the dynamics or the organizing relationship of that of all those variables, so that we can predict the occurrence of phenomenon. This is very important, and actually this is going to be our basic idea behind applied research. This in coming slides we are going to talk about types of research, and then you are going to understand that why it is very important to predict the occurrence of a phenomena. Why is it so important in applied research? So let's move to our next slide, that is scientific method in social science. So overall, now we have developed a kind of general idea about key terminology regarding social research, which is number one, it has to be reliable. Number two, it has to be valid. Number three, it has to be objective. Number four, it has to be always in the with help of some sort of theory. So now let's talk about how are we going to gather to obtain that data in a systematic way. Actually, this whole process is very complex and dynamic because investigation of human nature under guided condition is completely impossible. For example, 30 students are sitting in my class. Everybody is trying to listen me, but actually everybody has something different in his mind. Somebody is attending his my class. Why? Because uh, it is raining out there and that fellow cannot go. Okay. Second person is attending my class out of interest. Third person is attending my class because exams are approaching. So actually, he or she is willing to ask me some important question. So there can be thousands of different intentions, permutation and combination of those factors. So you can't control your observation, and there are so many complexities because of this subjectivity that we call subjectivity. When we are talking about education in rural area, for example, let's take an example, another example. We have to understand the distance from a village to the college, higher education college, is very crucial to cut down the number of everyday going scholars or students to that particular college. It is not going to be the same case in city, but it is a very important factor in rural area. Second thing, marriage. Age at marriage can be another very crucial factor to affect performance of uh, education or literacy in general in a rural area. Again, it is not very important in city, but in rural area, it can be a major factor. So, investigation of human behavior under guided condition is not possible, and that is why we need scientific methods to avoid all those errors. The purpose is to avoid all those possible errors so that we can understand that we are actually concluding valid generalization with help of reliable data. So there are 6 points that are summarized. Actually, all these points are available in the text on eGyan Kosh. That is basically a knowledge portal for all of you. You can get these whole text from there. Okay, so this is unit number 1 and 2 from first block. So first problem is complexity of subject matter. Of course, in rural development and in general in all social sciences, and in case of rural development in particular, subject matter is complex because it is full of subjectivity rather than objectivity. For example, let's take values. Values vary from society to society. To honor someone is completely different in an African society as compared to Indian society. And again, to honor someone can be completely different in a Afghan area, rural area, any rural setting. So this rural setting is going to be completely altered in terms of norms and values. What are values? Values are uh, general ideals of a particular society, like respecting elders is a value, but norms are specified ways how to reach, how to achieve those values, and these norms are going to be different from society to society. So there is a very different kind of subject matter in social sciences in general and rural development in particular. Second point is difficulties in observation. Actually, everything is, it is not possible for us to observe everything. For example, when we were trying to discuss those numbers of those absent boys from the class, nobody is going to not everyone is going to understand. For example, some students from city, some students from city are actually going to question that, ma'am, this is a very good sign. I said, what is that good sign? Ma'am, actually it is representing Indian society, and actually that means girls are getting more education. These girls are coming out. That means this is a kind of progressive society. This is a kind of different trend. But actually, we need a thorough research to conclude like this. So, second hurdle is difficulties in observation, because all factors cannot be observed in rural development. Third is difficulties in replication. It is most common that sometimes those things are occurring in front of us, but later you don't find, you can't replicate those particular situations. And even if you try to replicate that particular situation, that human behavior, the human response of a particular society is can be completely changed from that was recorded in the previous observation. So this is another hurdle. Fourth is the interaction between observer and subject. Actually, it is also very going to be very complicated, because observer is thinking that he or she is investigating, but the subject is also aware of the fact that this observer is basically investigating me. So although he or she, that subject, tries to make you realize that he is answering you, he is giving you responses in a very logical way, but actually he can also try to hide information that a particular subject finds private, personal, or confronting. So again, observer is thinking that actually I am getting the whole information. So the data is reliable, but it is actually not valid. Why not valid? It is not valid because the observer is not getting the true data, the exact information which is actually valuable, more important. For example, not a single husband is going to accept it in front of you that he beats his wife. Okay. Similarly, not a single mother is going to accept in front of you how many births were still, and how many pregnancies were interrupted due to certain factors. These are very personal informations. These are very private information, which are actually it is not possible to get that particular information by conducting few rounds of interaction between observer and subject. That means the whole process is very complicated. Fifth is difficulties in control, that I have discussed in general, because you can't control all those factors that are basically beyond your control. And the sixth is problems of measurement. This is going to be will be in a better position to discuss this sixth point in later presentations, because then we are going to discuss those statistical tools in details. So these are certain problems. Those are basically hurdles in case of scientific applying scientific methods in social research. So now let's move to understand classification of research. That means how can we classify, categorize research on the basis of our objective. When the objective is to know, to develop a completely new insight, to explore a particular phenomenon, or to formulate a precise research problem, this is called exploratory or formulative research. The whole idea behind exploratory research is to understand something new or exploring something from a new dimension. It has to be very precise and objective, objectively defined, objectively defined focus in that particular research. So its name is basically very suggestive in this case. That is, it is only for gaining new insights or new dimension of a particular social phenomenon. Second is descriptive research. You can call it in for your understanding. You can understand exploratory research or formulative research are not general research. Those are always specifically aimed at formulating certain new dimensions, means certain particular dimensions of a social phenomenon. But in descriptive research, we try to cover as many dimensions as possible related to a particular social phenomenon. That means in descriptive research, we cover all dimensions rather than a particular and precise dimension, so that we can develop a general understanding in descriptive research. Third is diagnostic research. That is again very meaningful in its own term. Diagnostic means there is something problematic, and actually you are going to understand what kind of factors can help to solve that problem. So diagnostic research is basically to understand frequency with which phenomenon occurs, and discovering and testing of certain variables and their functioning, so that you can solve a particular problem in a by help of a conducting research. And the fourth one is evaluative research. Evaluative research is basically uh, evaluation of certain development programs and agencies or institutions in terms of outcomes, coverage, fund utilization, benefits scattered. This is all about the classifications of research. Now, uh, let's talk about key characteristics of research, because as the course is going to proceed, every through every coming slide, we are going to specify our knowledge from general to particular in research methods, because we started from a very general term, but now you can understand how are we going to specify this special knowledge in case of research methods in rural development. So these three are basically key characteristics of research. First is objectivity. That means free from bias, free from error. But the problem is, in most of the cases, we are not able to understand that uh, we are full of prejudices, bias. Why? Because everyone, each of us is coming from a different social background, different economic background, and we have just one dimension of a particular perspective. So sometimes, and in most of the time, we are not able to realize that whatever we are going to observe is not actually the observation, rather, it is a kind of preconceived notion. So, objectivity is all about removing all your preconceived notion from exact observation. And we do this by help of several research methods in rural development. Second is reliability and verifiability. Unless and until you are going to replicate that particular study, you can't call that data reliable. For example, when I said that I have seen 90% times girls are present in my class while 10% are in boys, this number can be 10% less or more. But if you are going to see something which is completely in contrast with my observation, that means my data is not reliable. That means anytime randomly you are going to my class, there must be a majority of girls as compared to the boys. So reliability is very important. And okay, I got this break request from Sayyid Nasir Fazli. He's writing 10 minutes break for doing the prayer. So let's take this break and we will be resuming. I'll be resuming for 10 minutes break. I am switching off my camera and my mic, although PowerPoint presentation will be there. Please take a break of 10 minutes and we'll be resuming after that. Thank you. So, shall we start again?
जी हाँ मैम,
Yes,
जी मैम।
ma'am, I think.
Okay, thank you. Well, I am surprised with Muhammad Salim, Fazi, and Nazari because both are writing in the inbox that they don't have my voice. That means you people were not present before that in class. Should I take that as a conclusion, or it is a hypothesis that you want to challenge? Okay, let's start again. Can you see the slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, is everything clear till now to everyone?
Sorry, ma'am, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Sorry for the interruption. I
Please,
have
please.
one question regarding hypothesis.
Okay, please feel free. Yeah.
As you said, if we made hypothesis and then prove ourselves wrong, it means that our research is authentic. Why is that? While if we prove ourselves right, it means, or we can say it shows that our observation, hypothesis, and understanding from the situation is good. Why is that?
What is your question exactly?
My question is, if we prove ourselves right, it means our observation and hypothesis and understanding from the situation is good. So why proving ourselves wrong is show that our research is more authentic?
Okay. Were you there when we start this discussion
Yes, yes.
since the
I'm
beginning?
yes, yes.
So
I was
the whole purpose of critical investigation is gone actually. If we are going to prove ourselves right, okay,
yes.
there is the critical investigation because the whole idea to behind research is to explore questions or those are unanswered or partially answered, or even if we have complete answers, those were basically time and place bound. That means researches that were being conducted in developing societies like Afghanistan, India, or in Africa, those were still very exact even after 50 years. Can we say that? No. That means the whole idea behind creating new knowledge is to investigate critically. This is the whole idea. And I am not suggesting that you have to be determined to prove yourself right or to prove yourself wrong. I am telling you this is the falsifiable characteristic of hypothesis. That means it can be right and equally it has a possibility to be proved as wrong, right? So this is falsifiable. That means from the beginning you don't know it is going to be right or it is going to be wrong. This is the whole idea which is why I was trying to make you understand. Is that
It
clear to
means
you now?
it means that we have to be critical while if we are right or wrong, no matter.
It's not about right or wrong, it is about critical investigation, right?
Yes, yes, yes. Got it, got it. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay,
Thank you.
welcome, welcome. Is there anybody else who wants to ask me any question? Idris Baha, you are also telling me that there was no voice. I think everyone getting my voice. So please try to reconnect yourself. Till then, we are going to discuss third point of our key characteristics regarding research. Precision. What is that precision? Precision means you can't generalize your research too much. Like when I told you that 90% students, those are present in my class, are girls, and that college is located in remote area. This is precision. I am not telling you that in all my classes, everywhere, those are the number of girls there that is higher. This is precision in the sense that I am telling you that in a particular frame, when I tell you about that situation with precision, I try to frame that particular observation in a time specific and space specific. That means time and space both are incorporated, because I am telling you that it is a college which is basically located in a remote area. That means the rural area. That means this here it we are talking about precision, and that is why we got four different ideas, four different hypotheses to understand that particular situation. So, precision is also very important characteristic of research, because unless and until we are precise in our understanding, we are never going to understand the mutual relationship of determinant, determining variable, and intermittent variable. So these all three are very important characteristics of this research. Now let's try to understand what is the whole procedure of this scientific investigation in general, and in case of rural development in particular. First of all, we try to define the problem. Again, problem doesn't mean a problem in our practical life. Problem means gap of knowledge. What do we want to know? What is basically our question? For example, in that situation, our question was why boys were missing from that class, number one, and where were those boys when those were not present in that particular class. So defining a gap of knowledge by help of objectives is the first way, is the first procedure that we call problem formulation. And this is the first step. It can be done by observation. It can be done by help of certain review of literature, and at the same time, it can be done by serendipity pattern. That means sometimes there is something very surprising that happened in front of you, and you try to formulate the problem as what was that particular phenomena at all. Second, statement of the hypothesis. Statement of the hypothesis is basically all about the third characteristics that is written there over the slide, that is precision. Statement of the hypothesis has to be precise. That means, for example, in case of your dissertation which you are going to plan in coming time, whenever students are formulating those statements of hypothesis, they try to write to identify the pros and cons, or do's and don'ts, or benefits and losses of a particular development program. Actually, this is a very general kind of statement. Rather, it will be more helpful, it will be more productive if you try to understand the statement in a precise way. For instance, what is the impact of a particular program on the poverty elevation of women, or poverty elevation of disabled population? That kind of precision would make you able to understand how to conduct your study, because these statements are actually guiding lights to your research. So statement of the hypothesis has to be clear cut, precise, and there you are supposed to understand actually the possible relation between important variables. So those variables have to be defined in that particular statement of the hypothesis. Third portion is the actual research. Most of us understand that this is the overall research, but actually this is just one medium, just one step of social research in rural development, and this is collection and analysis of data. But before this collection, you are supposed to develop a very good understanding in review of literature and in the social setting where you are going to conduct that study, and you have to design your research tools, and then again you are supposed to conduct a pilot survey, a pilot study, so that you can understand whether you are able to use those uh, research tools for obtaining valid data or reliable data or not. Third is testing and confirmation or rejection of hypothesis. Here again, the same question which we were actually discussing a few moments back is coming again. After this collection and analysis of data, we are actually trying to understand whether the hypothesis is proved or rejected. There is an equal possibility of confirmation as well as rejection. That is a good research. I am not asking you to reject your hypothesis with a determined way since day one. No, never. You have to be completely curious whether it is right or it is wrong. You can't take a stand on the first step. After the whole research, only then you are going to understand whether we are going to reject this hypothesis or accept this hypothesis. Then, in the last reporting of the results that we know as framing those, writing those findings and conclusions after trend analysis in a research in general and in rural development in particular. Now, let's talk about two major categories of research. One is fundamental research, and the second is applied research. Again, if you try to understand, fundamental research is basically basic research. That means it aims to obtain the empirical data that can be used to formulate, expand, create, evaluate, add any new dimension to a theory. It is for the purpose of knowledge creation, knowledge addition, knowledge valuation. It is not oriented in design or purpose towards the solution of practical problems, because the research which is basically being conducted for the solution of practical problem is called applied research. So this is the basic difference between fundamental research and applied research. That means applied research is always conducted with a particular uh, purpose to solve certain actual problem. uh, those are experienced. Okay, so this is the basic difference between fundamental research and applied research. Now, what is the scope of research in rural development? Actually,
Ma'am, sorry for interruption.
please, बताएं.
May I
Yes,
have a real example for both types of research?
pardon? Applied
Can you
research.
just
Okay,
give us for a real example, if
okay,
it's
okay.
possible for both
Yes,
of
yes, it is
both
possible.
types?
It is possible. For example,
Thank you.
uh, I have been working on social capital. Okay,
Okay,
I
ma'am.
have been working on social capital, and the doctoral work that I have conducted and accomplished. I have accomplished my research, my doctoral thesis on in a rural area, and the title was Social Capital, Collective Action and Development, a Sociological Study. Okay, this study
Okay,
was
ma'am.
conducted by conducting intensive village study, and I did the whole review of literature before that. But the overall purpose was to understand what is social capital, number one. Number two, how is it related to collective action? Number three, is it good, beneficial, profitable for collective action or not? And if it is good for collective action, can that collective action be profitable for development in a rural area? The whole purpose was to gain knowledge. It is called fundamental research. Okay. Now, let's talk about applied research. But in West Bengal, that is a part of India, in West Bengal, uh, forest conservation exercise was being conducted, and it was found, it was observed by help of several theories that state, that means the administration, government cannot protect forest on its own. A good active role of a community that is living near a forest can do that in a better way. So they conducted social capital research, okay, and they try to understand how they can use social capital by help of voluntary organization of a particular area, and how can they guide to that particular collective action, that community organization, those voluntary association for the forest management exercises, because that is a kind of community resource, and collective action can be helped, can be utilized for forest management. When you are conducting this study for solving a particular problem, that is problem of forest management, by help of that collective action which is coming from voluntary organization that we call social capital, then it is going to be applied research. This is the basic difference between fundamental research and applied research. Am I able to answer your question? Are you able to understand the basic difference by help of this example?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
okay.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. So, but this is a very general thing in the sense, but it is very important to understand because it is actually telling us that scope of research in rural development is extensive and very wide. That is why research methodology, or your command, your refinement in research methods in rural development is very crucial. Either you are going to opt for some development related state owned development related responsibility, or a freelancer development professional, because from the broad areas of research in rural development, like rural poverty, uh, land reforms, uh, poverty alleviation programs, or community resources management, watershed management, there can be lots of areas where rural development is basically very wide in all its aspects, like a very wide spectrum. So, this is all about the scope of research. Now, let's try to talk about the second unit, which is basically try to understand, is guiding us to understand the regional and national perspectives, so that we can understand how in India research in rural development evolved through various stages. In this part of our interactive session, basically we have written so many names of those development programs that have been crucial for advancement of rural areas and the betterment of rural areas in India. Like uh, this Integrated Rural Development Program, or IRDP, is very important. Then this Jawahar Gram Samriddhi Yojana, JGSY, it is very important. Those are basically very important in the sense that those are going to give you a history, in the sense that you can understand how these strategies of rural development have been evolving from time to time as per changing needs of a particular society. So, right from those employment generating programs to that of the public distribution system, which is aimed actually for food security, all those programs are listed there in your text. There you can get, you are actually supposed to get a familiarity in the process of evolution of those programs. So try to read those sections of those text uh, once in a while thoroughly. I am trying to uh, point out there certain important things like voluntary actions in rural development. These voluntary actions mean civil society organizations in collective terms. So it was all started from sixth and seventh 5-year plans. Contributions of voluntary organizations for socially deprived caste and communities, that is marginalized communities, are found very significant because they have more involvement with those marginalized communities and socially deprived castes. So it is found that voluntary actions or civil society organizations are more useful in rural development. That is why they promote that building up a viable organizational base is very good for voluntary agencies, but actually it is also not very easy. Not very easy in the sense that you need a proper check on these organizational basis, because the whole purpose is to strengthen those communities rather than making those communities dependent on your organizational base all the time. And that is why association of seva farms help the people to evolve their programs. It is all there, but this was the beginning of those voluntary actions in India. Okay, then this IRDP, history of IRDP is very important in Indian context, because local level, that is the particular setting, then block, and then district level. This is a kind of planning framework when for the first time they try to integrate so many development or activities in a micro level planning. And the whole idea was going through felt needs of the local with organizational setup of district level through block. So it was a kind of strengthening that support, while felt needs are going to be catered by these development programs. But there was, of course, there were certain problems which are identified, like they found that only 10 to 50% of the beneficiaries were able to cross the poverty line. That means it was not getting the desired results. That means there was something wrong. Something was not going very well with that particular program, so it was again evaluated. So this is the kind of evolution. Then there are also other schemes like Dwakra, that is development of women and children in rural areas. That means they started focusing on different categories of beneficiaries. Like women have different approaches towards their activities and their responsibilities in families of rural areas, and children have different kind of needs. So they started trying to categorize felt needs in different schemes, like those specific schemes that are directed especially to new mothers, newly born children, or there were employment generation schemes for ladies, but those are basically group oriented, because we have observed that one single lady has no much power to go outside village freely and single handedly. That is why this group oriented scheme has been developed as a part of the strategy. And again, there were also found that there were certain areas, because infrastructure is a very important factor in rural development. So there were area specific programs like drought prone area program or desert development program. So all these development programs were evolved one by one. Then one very major program was public distribution system. It was basically a part of Indian policy for food security, and they divided the whole country in few zones, and they allowed movement of food grains only with restrictions. And you'll be very surprised to know that from past 10 years, I was listening, observing so much critique about this public distribution system, that Indian government is basically creating this huge investment on this program. But all those tongues were silenced completely when a pandemic occurred during COVID-19. From 2020 to 21 and then again to 22, we have seen how in a critical situation this national level public distribution system was able to feed the larger population of India. So it was a very different kind of observation in a crisis. When these crises occur, and you can't fathom that you are not going to face a single crisis, because now you are a developed country, because we have witnessed it since 2019, that how one small virus can alter the whole world, either a developed country or developing country. Almost everyone suffered. So this is basically a kind of evolving strategy, which is basically part of our experience, research, and our understanding to solve a particular problem by providing a strengthening. Like food security is the basic requirement of a developing country. So there is a huge list of these programs, and the last and not the least is new Panchayati Raj institution in case of Indian villages, because this is actually came through 73rd Amendment in Indian Constitution, that was occurred in 1993, because it regularized, systematized, and diversified the political choices and democratic decentralization process of Indian villages. So, this is all about this second uh, unit, which is, again, I am revising it for you. This is the research in rural development, and we are supposed to develop a general understanding in regional and national perspectives. So, for today, I am going to wind up my session, and I am inviting all those questions and queries. And here I have posted one picture from UNICEF study. Basically, we are going to discuss certain things about Afghanistan, about this particular society, because the whole discussion about this whole research methods in rural development is going to be very boring unless and until we are coming with our own reflections, with our own case studies, from our own contextual understandings. Okay, so I just request you, all of you, please go through those case studies, those studies. If you find anything relevant, anything update, or any classical study that has been conducted in Afghanistan. Okay, so let's talk about incorporating certain reflections or questions, if there is any. Please feel free. Now it is your turn, and I am going to listen you. Navid, can you please proceed?
Uh, Thank you very much, ma'am. Actually, it was more clear than even comparing with the last session that we had. So for almost 9 years, I have also worked in education system. So I know at the beginning that who is just going to present some things professionally. So thank you very much. Overall, the session was very good, and we really understand. You were very loud and clear. And actually, I do not have any particular questions to ask because everything was clear for me. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Can you please ask me on, can you please ask your friends on my behalf if there is any question and they are particularly using Pashto or Persian? Yes, please feel free to speak. I think Amin has switched.
So-
Sonala,
sorry, ma'am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but may I request all of you to please switch on your camera for 5 minutes? If it is not, if you are not getting uncomfortable with it, please speak. Yes, thank you. Yes, please speak. बताएं क्या क्या पूछना चाह रहे हैं आप?
Can you hear me, ma'am?
I can hear you.
Thank you. Your communication skill is very good. Thank you for the presentation. I have one request, if it is possible.
Yes, please.
If you know, in Afghanistan, even till master program, we don't have practical research. It means to do research, not
Yeah,
not theoretical.
yeah,
So I request you, if you help us more in this part, if we before dissertation, if we select some topic and
yeah.
you supervise us properly to become familiar with research at the basic and intermediate level, we will be grateful.
Very good, very good. Because this is the whole purpose behind this PG program, and that is why I think you must be aware about this dissertation part of your program. You have to conduct a full-fledged study. It can be primary data, it can be secondary data. Okay, so from tomorrow, sorry, from the next session, I'll be sharing certain studies. Okay, like there is one study, for example, this picture which is actually showing on the last slide of my presentation. It has been taken from a UNICEF conducted study in Afghanistan, and actually this is a education based study post COVID. So they've actually, this is a way how to write one professional report. Okay, second
Mhm.
report which I am going to share with all of you is again by international agency. Here I am not telling you that there are only international agencies that are actually conducting good research, not at all. I am not claiming, but somewhere when you are learning how to write professionally, how to present professionally, how to conduct a report writing professionally, because first of all we have to learn professionalism. So somewhere we have to take from where we have to learn. Okay, so I suggest you to download certain well conducted studies by international agencies, number one, then by national agencies, because our state governments, our sometimes we have partnership with other study with other agencies. Our countries have signed certain MOUs with other agencies, so there can also be other studies as well on national level, international level, and of course, like Navid was telling us, that he has been working in education sector from past 10 years. So we have to incorporate all that stock of experience, knowledge together, so that we can identify how to write not only professionally but also originally, because research has to be original. Okay,
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
it is very good. Actually, you have told me about the whole plan behind this particular course. This is the whole idea behind this
Yes,
course.
ma'am. As you know, research is very important, and
Yes,
I myself have worked as a research assistant for more than 1 year.
very
I'm
good.
familiar with data collecting, the data transcribing, data filtering, and
Very good.
even I have worked as a reporting officer,
Very
but
nice.
I didn't do any research, and I want to learn the skill.
Very good. Very good. We'll be learning, of course. Muhammad Hussain Hussaini wants to say something, and after that, Muhammad Wali will join us. Please feel free. This is your own class. Switch on your camera, please, if you can. Thank you. Muhammad Wali, you can please unmute yourself. You can share your point. Muhammad Hussain, we are also waiting for you.
محمد ولی و رفیق حسین شما میوت
I,
هستین.
sorry, sorry, I lost my connection. Ma'am, I had a question, and I didn't know that if it's the right platform to ask or no, but since the topic
It
has been
is,
asked by
it is.
one of
Feel
our
free, feel free.
classmates, so I
Look,
just
look,
wanted to
look.
ask that
Let me tell
will
you
it,
something. Let me tell you something for the first time, but not the last time. You are free to ask any question because this is part of higher education, and in higher education, not only
thank you,
you
ma'am.
are learning, I'm also learning. Okay, so let's learn without any hesitation. Feel free to ask any question. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, ma'am, but I didn't know that if it's related to you or no. I just wondered that will you assist us in selecting our dissertation topic, or will they, RT, the Radun Regional Center, they will assign the professors for us, or because we haven't received any information about the dissertation topics, we just got the information that we have to select our dissertation topic in this year, but how and when we have no info. So that was my question, that will you assist us in selecting our topic or no? Will they assign a specific professor for us? Thank you.
Thank you. We are going to take other questions as well. I have written this question because time is, yes, Ibn Amin, please feel free. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, madam and classmates. I'm pleased to be joining with you in this class. So, can you hear me, madam? I wanted to make
Yes,
sure.
you are clear.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. So, as far as I know, research is a very important part of development programs, and we are not going to study this chapter for the sake of only doing for our thesis. And the concept is broader than that, and I'm sure that we are going to study a little bit about the statistics as well, because we need to understand quantitative part, and make sure that we understand the data and how to analyze it. If that is possible, we are to be provided with some important tools and techniques that how can we practically conduct research on every aspect of the projects. For example, about the titles that you presented, the types of research that we have. So if that could be possible, for having a practical like assignment on those areas, that we need to ensure to understand the theories, practices behind those theories. So if there are some practical tools that can help us to conduct those research areas, I mean, that will be very much, I think, helpful for all of us to get into practice than theory. That was my point, not question. Thank you.
Yes, it is well taken. Let's wait for other questions. I'll be resuming after that. Okay. Thanks a lot for your reflection. It is basically a reflection. Thank you. Anybody else, please join us. We were waiting for Muhammad Hussain Hussaini. Are you willing to ask something, or you have raised this hand mistakenly only? If it is mistakenly done, kindly remove your hand, raise.
Sorry, ma'am. Can I tell him in very
No need, no need. I am just taking for few minutes. Otherwise, I'll be starting with the Muhammad Wali's query. Okay, let's start. I think he has raised this question. He's raised his hand mistakenly. Anyway, so let's talk about first query mentioned by Muhammad Wali. Uh, you are basically asking us what is the basic procedure to guide all of you learners through that for that dissertation. Basically, this is there are, I think, 3 to 4 persons, because uh, technically and professionally it is not okay to be part of a large number of dissertations, because it's a very long process, and you are supposed to write, you are supposed to seek guidance on all steps of that report writing, right from the formulation, selection of the topic, to that of the formulation of the problem, till that of the report writing. Every time you are supposed to write in a Word file, and you are supposed to mail us. It is in the form of draft 1, draft 2, draft 3, and we keep checking it by our mail. All supervisors are doing it, and we are not here to cut short your efforts. Rather, we are here only to make to make your efforts more polished, more professional. So we will not be eliminating or erasing everything that you are sending to us. We will be guiding us only how to write professionally. So if there is like uniformity, okay. So like you in first part you are using US English, and in the later chapters you are using UK English, then it is not good, because uniformity is the first principle of writing a report professionally. So there are certain principles, but actually I would like to tell you that selection of supervisor is going to be done only by your RC team Dehradun, and we supervisors are not allowed to do this, for the sake of the transparency and the professionalism and objectivity behind this. Okay, and rest is let's talk about Ibn Amin. Actually, if you are able to go through e-Gyan Kosh, the whole study material is available there. And of course, we are going to talk about quantitative data and qualitative data, and we are going to talk about certain statistical tools and techniques as well. But as you know very well, that it is a 7 session program. Each session is a 2 hour duration. That means practically it is not possible to practice hands on those statistical tools and techniques. Okay, so what we are going to do here, we are going to give you a general description, understanding, text, with help of text, with help of PowerPoint presentation, with help of discussion. We are going to guide you. We are going to discuss with all these statistical tools, including all types of quantitative data and qualitative data. But for that particular refinement in practice, you are supposed to polish your knowledge. Here we can help you. Okay, but for this particular course, because it is a time bound thing, so you can't focus only on statistical tools and techniques for a very long period of time. So of course there is material, you can go through it, and in coming time, actually today's lecture was covering only 2 units. If you are able to go through that e-gyan course, you'll be able to know there are completely 4 blocks, and it is a kind of covering the whole syllabus of social research in rural development, including quantitative data and qualitative data. So thanks a lot for today's discussion, and let's resume, let's rejoin, let's come with certain case study on next Monday, because we'll be meeting every Monday, and I'll be sending this PowerPoint presentation to your RC team Dehradun, and you will be getting that from them. Okay.
Thank you very much from your
So,
presentation.
so okay. Thanks a lot. Take care. And we say it in our
Hello.
Lucknow. Actually, I belong to Lucknow, and there we say usually when we say bye bye, we say it Khuda Hafiz. So may I call you? May I say you Khuda Hafiz?
Same
Yes.
here, man. We're also calling Khuda Hafiz.
Okay, nice. Let's meet
Thank you
again.
very much. Take care and thank you very much.
Thank
Have
you.
a nice night.
Thank you.
خدا حافظ. خدا حافظ all.
دوستان عزیز به خاطر از اینکه در ثبت است میشوه همه لیف بگیم تا که ریکارد تمام شوه. ببخشین. زبیلا خانی، سلام الله خان، رحمت الله خان، صدای مرا دارین؟ میشه لیف بکن چون ریکارد باید توقف بتین. ببخشین.